Hi, I'm Natalie Ryan Hebert, and I'm the founder of the Red Tent program, which is a program that uses rapid transformational therapy and metacognitive psychology to heal the symptoms of PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. But I'm sure if you're watching, you already know that. And I'm here with Eryn, who is one of my clients, and we worked together a few months ago now. She finished the program. And so she has very kindly offered to come on and talk about her story so that it can inspire you if you're watching this today and you are struggling with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. We're here to tell you that there's plenty of hope. I used to have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and I don't consider myself to anymore. And I don't think Eryn does. I haven't actually asked her yet. I guess we'll find out. So hi, Eryn. Thank you for joining me and sharing with us today. So just to start with, if you could just share where you were at when things had really got to their worst and you frantically looking over the internet for some kind of solution, and you came across me. Tell me where you were at back then.
Okay, well, it was actually almost 12 months ago, I guess. I was actually thinking about it yesterday, to be honest with you, leading up, it was like literally 5-6 weeks before Christmas. And I like to say what I would have again once every month, a hell week, what we would call a hell week. And probably one of the worst ones I had for a long time. But I guess prior to this, just a very quick recap on my own health journey. I honestly believe my PMDD started when I first started menstruating. It wasn't severe symptoms, but I definitely struggled every month. It progressively got worse in my 20s, and it also didn't help that I wasn't looking after myself with alcohol and all sorts of things. But I was put on antidepressants quite young. I was also put on the pill. And with those fluctuations in mood swings and things like that, I was heavily misdiagnosed, almost to the point where I was borderline on thinking I may have had bipolar at times. There was things where I was completely misunderstood. And then as I got into my 20s, I moved out of home, as you do. I traveled overseas, but there was always this undercurrent of really negative, symptoms and horrible, these really, really significant lows that were going on, this yo-yoing effect that I just couldn't control myself. And, whilst I was tried probably 5 or 6 different antidepressants, after having my 2 children, the symptoms really amped up. It was almost like everything came to the fore after I had my 2 kids. And I just got to the point where I couldn't live like this anymore. I started trying to, trying to hide it from my children. But I was going from having 1 week a month to almost 2 weeks out of the month where I was in bed crying for weeks on end, and things were getting really, really bad. And I said to my husband this time last year, I said, I cannot live like this anymore. Probably 5 years ago, I did try to take my own life. I actually ended up in a psychiatric hospital where I was severely depressed. My uncle, who's been a psychiatric nurse for nearly 40 years, he came to see me in hospital and he said to me, what's going on? Like, you haven't really had anything severe happen in your life, to my knowledge, like nothing really bad's happened. Why would you think that you would be this bad? And my answer was, I actually don't know. I don't know why I'm like this. I've got no idea what's happened to me, because to everybody else on the surface, I looked fine. I was fine. Any test I went to have came back fine. To everybody else, what on earth had happened to me? Because I'd never had anything bad happen. I'd never had this so-called trauma that, you would expect to have. So I guess in my eyes, I was like, well, what am I whinging about? Like what on earth would be so bad that once a month I have this thing? And it was really only this beginning of this year in 2020 that I finally got a diagnosis. So I didn't even know what PMDD was. I just thought, a little bit like you, Natalie, I listened to your story on a podcast about going to Mother's Group and talking about your monthly cycle. And I just was so alone in that. I had no idea that I just thought it was me. And I was also told that my grandmother was a bit like it as well.
Mm.
And her sister was also like it, although my mum wasn't like that. Um, I was almost like, well, maybe it's a genetic thing, maybe this has been passed down. And I honestly just didn't know what it really was. And so then I basically put my foot in the sand come Christmas. I had probably one of the worst Christmases. I spent 4 days in bed just hysterically crying. I missed out on Christmas last year.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I shouldn't be thinking about ending my own life when I have two beautiful children and two stepchildren that I care for dearly. And I was wanting to have Christmas with my own family, but I just couldn't. And I was just burnt out. And I don't remember a lot of it because I was so unwell.
Yeah.
And so I said, my New Year's resolution is to get my health right this year at all costs. I don't care what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then a pandemic hit and I still stuck to my guns. And I thought the only way for me to get to the bottom of this is to find somebody who's had it. Because I honestly, I went to 3 specialists. So I went to a gynecologist, I went to an obstetrician, and I went to a psychologist. And all 3 of them said to me, I actually don't know how to help you. So my GP said to me, she gave me the diagnosis and she said to me, I've never seen anybody as serious as your symptoms before. She said, I know what it is, but she said, I don't really know why you have it. And so she sent me down this rabbit hole of 3 other specialists, and to which they ended up putting me on more medication.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a massive adverse effect to this pill that this gynecologist had put me on, which ended up sending me having major, like hot flushes. I was standing in the shower with like 38 degrees, 40-degree temperatures. And she said after day 10, right, I want you to get off that. And I said, so what's my option now? And she said, well, the only option you have is to have everything out and have surgery. And so my answer to that was no. Straight away, I just thought, this is not my life. I wasn't born like this. Oops, sorry.
No, it's okay. Just I'm going to cut it. I'll edit this out. Just keep going. It's because the video is so pixelated.
Yeah.
Better not have it.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it as audio, and it'll be completely fine. We'll have a picture of you and stuff. Continue. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so I just kept thinking to myself that the best part of me on the 2 weeks that was well was saying in my mind, going, I wasn't born like this. I mean, I don't know how to get rid of this. But I just knew I had to do something different. I had to find something different because I'd done the same thing for nearly 24 years and nothing had worked.
Yeah.
And so then I just so happened to join this PMDD Facebook group where everybody was really focused on their symptoms and not getting better.
Yeah.
I put a question in this group about, has anybody found anybody that's lived with this and come out the other side? Which had about 16 replies on this comment section in Facebook going, what do you mean coming out the other side? Like, once we have this is it for life type of thing. And I was just sitting there going, yeah, and I was in the group just going, I'm actually starting to wonder whether these girls are getting off on being this unwell. I mean, nobody actually wants this, and I certainly never wanted to live with it as long as I did, for 25 years. But I thought to myself, none of us were born like this. So something somewhere has happened, and what I do not know. And because everybody's box of pain is different, why is it there's such an epidemic of women now that not only have fertility issues, but have major depressive disorders around their period? And I just thought this wasn't happening 2,000 years ago, or maybe no one spoke about it. I don't know. So
it's hard to know, isn't it? Because we weren't there to sort of, and what was it mean? That I remember, of course they would call it hysteria. Oh, she's hysterical was the term they used to give maybe back in the 1800s. And it was all because hysteria, hysterectomy, it's all about hyster means womb. So they had maybe a sense there's something crazy about this woman and her uterus is causing it, and the name I think has changed over time. But really, as you know, my whole take on it is that the hormonal shift is is highlighting, magnifying, bringing to the surface, stirring up the sludge from the bottom, the pain we're holding down below, and it's bringing it up and showing it to us. And so yeah, that's of course what we work on, is clearing that stuff. Even if you think, but I've not been through anything traumatic, you don't know what was traumatic to you or not. It's not what happens to us, it's what we make it mean. And to a child, it's something that seems even very small can leave a very big scar, which was of course the case for you with your experience too.
I think the one thing that I realized when I decided that I had to pull myself out of this, because I think the one thing I remember you saying to me when I first spoke to you, Natalie, was, you know, you don't want to be at rock bottom to realize that the only person coming to save you is you. And you know, and I remember thinking those words, saying, I don't care, I cannot live like this anymore. They were the words I used straight up.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I will not put my family through this anymore. Like, I will not. So I have to, I don't care how much money it takes me or how long it takes me. I want to find out why I have this.
Yeah.
It's not enough to know something now. I think we want to know why.
Yeah.
And I was 100% driven. So I got a nutritionist. I've, you know, was eating all the right things. And since working with Natalie, I've lost another 12 kilos. Because those words about letting it go. And the one thing I've realized was that I was resisting and holding on to whatever it was that was driving me into that wedge every month. And it was getting me stuck there. And it was time to really let go of it. And not only have I let go of a lot of emotional pain, but physically, the physical part of it has just gone. It's all gone. And I don't feel like, I don't have those feelings in my body anymore. And I completely put that down to the work I did with Natalie and RTT. So thanks, Natalie. I can't, it sounds really corny, but you completely saved my life. Because like I said, I tried to take my own life and it was not pretty. And I was, again, laying in a hospital bed going, this is not me. I'm not crazy, but this disorder or this disease has sent me crazy. I'm not that person laying in this bed, but for some reason, that was my last option. In that time, I was at my lowest. And it was a very dark time. It wasn't nice at all. And I don't ever want to see anybody else go through something like that. It's not something that,
But it really brought you to such a place of power within yourself, because when you took a stand, it's like you drew a line in the sand and said, that's it now. And that is when I'm willing to do whatever it takes. That's when people transform. You need someone to do it with you. I really believe that. You know, I couldn't have found the healing I had, I don't believe, without having the therapy that I went through, with someone to hold that space for me, because you can't hold the space for yourself and fall apart while someone holds you while everything comes up. You know, someone needs to have, there needs to be a container for it. But it is all your power, but there needs to be a container for you to be able to use that power. And so just share with, so that gives us a really good idea of how bad things were, like suicidal, crying in bed for days on end, missing Christmas, not fun, to say the least.
Shocking.
And so then you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you found me, and then you went, this resonates, I'm going to do it. And then you did the program. So tell me, or tell everybody, or whoever's listening right now, what experience, what was the experience like? How would you describe the 8-week program that you did with me?
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to try and articulate this in the best way possible. So when I found Natalie, I just straight away, I listened, and I did watch a few of your videos around PMDD, and I was just fascinated at how different your approach was to it, because you'd had it yourself, and you're the first person I'd met who was a therapist who finally got what we were going through. And it's a little bit like having a doctor or an obstetrician come and see you or scan you that have never had a baby. I mean, how can they possibly know what you feel like until you've crossed over to the other side? It's almost as if you can finally see something for something that it is. And as soon as I spoke to you and I thought, she gets this, she completely and utterly gets me. And I just found myself just researching all sorts of things, not only about RTT, but just fascinating about how our mind works, which I guess when I started the Red Tent, there was some beautiful other women in there that were from all around the world. There was a girl from England and Ireland and Spain, I think, from memory. And those women were so vulnerable in sharing their stories on the first night. I'm pretty sure two of us, me included, were bawling our eyes out because we were coming off medication and we're a bit of a train wreck. But the honesty and the profound, explanations that we were giving each other about our symptoms and what we shared was so personal, but yet so unjudgmental and just so raw that I was like, finally I'm with people that not only do they want to get better, but I can start to see a way out of this. It was kind of like unraveling a big ball of like knotted yarn or something. And I was going, wow, these women really get it, And so, each week we'd sort of check in, and there was a few metacognitive, exercises that Natalie would give us. There was a whole heap of online support in terms of, being able to chat or ask questions. And look, I really threw myself into the exercises because not only was there a lockdown going on, but I had nothing else better to do than focus on my health because I'd made the decision early in the year that this is what I was going to do this year. So I just threw myself into it. I thought, I've got everything to gain and nothing to lose because everything I've tried's not worked. So I just thought, what is going to be if it doesn't work? It's just something else I've tried. So I literally just went in wholeheartedly and just thought, righto, just give it 110%. And we booked the first RTT session, and I won't lie, I was a little bit nervous because I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a little bit like going on a roller coaster for the first time because, whilst Natalie is in the driver's seat and, she's steering the ship, you really have to buckle in and hang on for the ride because, what I thought I was going in for and what I thought it may be and why I was the way I was absolutely nothing what it was. So
I always say, if you knew what the problem was, you would have fixed it by now, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Because you would have done something about it. It's the stones that are left unturned that you don't even think to look under, actually, isn't it? That contain your freedom. So you had your RTT, buckled in.
I buckled in for the ride, and I literally just hung on, and I thought, you know what? But the most transforming thing that came out of it was the understanding. And I think, when Natalie said to me, when you fully understand something and you see it for what it is, and you use that Santa analogy so perfectly. I love that. And even now I say this to my family when they say, God, you're so different. And I said, but you were so different when you stopped believing in Santa too, and you felt it on every level. And I just think, when we have such strong beliefs about ourselves and understanding our brain is this big computer that we're running, and, everything that's given to us is a subconscious program and these sort of train of habits and beliefs and actions and words and everything that's put into it. Because, then I started to realize that, what is genetics? Like, yes, you've got your DNA, but, what is passed down is a series of beliefs and words and actions and all sorts of things that goes on in a family. And I thought, you know what, the stuff that I know isn't my stuff. It's stuff that I'm carrying for everybody else, hence the weight gain. And because I was a really sensitive, empathetic, open listening sort of person, I just took everything on. So it didn't matter what criticism I'd heard as a child. I thought that was for me. And, it doesn't have, like you say, Natalie, it doesn't have to be trauma with a capital T. It can be lowercase. And for me, it was lowercase, thank goodness. But it wasn't even about what had happened to me. It was more about the beliefs I'd placed about myself in that moment. And, you know, for me, going back, I think the first scene I was taken to, I was about 4. And then the second one, I was 2 years of age. And the third one, I was about 6 years of age. So, you know, those ages for me, if someone said to me, what do you remember about your childhood under the age of 6, I couldn't actually tell you, because my brilliant mind had blocked it out for whatever the reason. And although I had some memories, a lot of them were through photographs. They weren't actually my actual memories. And so when I was taken back through RTT, I went back to the very first house I grew up in, which I had no memories of. And it was all about that time of my life, which, you know, yes, there was some amazing special moments, but clearly in those moments as a child, I'd made some pretty significant beliefs about myself. So yeah, that was the...
Yeah, and once it gets laid down, when you use, you know, we're so suggestible. We're like little sponges. We can learn languages. We take everything in, but we take everything in, and we also don't.
Yeah.
And our interpretations aren't always right either. We'll usually, you know, if a parent's angry, well, it must be because I'm not good enough, or mummy doesn't seem very happy. Well, I don't make her happy. Children are also extremely egocentric. The whole world is about me when I'm 2-3 years old. So it also comes with it. Well, then if anyone in my world is unhappy, it must be because I've made them unhappy, or I'm not. And so that's how these misinterpretations can happen, and we lose that self-love, and we think, if I'm not good enough, it's the thing that hurts us the most isn't that mummy didn't love me properly. It's because mummy didn't love me properly, I told myself I wasn't worth loving, and I lost my own love. This is the thing. It's the loss of your own love that is the greatest wound. And that's what I tend to find with most of my clients. And when we can reconnect that love that you have basically taken from yourself and said, no, you're not lovable, I'm sorry, I'm not giving it to you. When we realize, God, you were always lovable. Oh, you poor little thing at 2, you didn't think you were, but you are. Everything changes like on a dime. It's like suddenly I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, and I can never go back to believing in Santa. Suddenly I don't believe I'm unworthy anymore, and I could never not believe that I'm worthy. And it's quick, the change that happens. And when you have that inside of yourself, that radiates out into every area of your life, and vice versa. You know, same goes the other way. If you don't have that unworthiness, that not lovable inadequacy that you hide even from yourself. We're very good at hiding it with our masks and our makeup and our, you know, all the coping mechanisms we have in place, but deep down there's the inadequacy there. And it finds its way into everything. So
the one thing too, I think, well, the words I used when I came out of my first session was absolutely wow. That was the first thing I remember saying. And I said to you, I could have spent another 30 something years in therapy and I never would have seen what I had seen and felt in RTT to get to the root cause and the effect of why I was the way I was. And the upgrading of the child for me personally, that was understanding it in its whole, you know, totality, and getting to that stage where I realized that wasn't me. That's not me anymore. And I'm not that little kid stuck in that house anymore, having that belief. And I'm not that way because now I'm a mum. And, you know, when my children say to me, oh, do you love me, mum? Or do you? And I'm like, well, the most important words that you say to yourself is that you love you. It's not, of course I love you. I will always love you. But, you know, they, like you're saying, Natalie, to teach, to give the gift to our children, for them to understand that everything is in them. And, you know, we're so used to being, I guess, taught this way, and I was too, and it's absolutely of no blame to my parents or grandparents or great grandparents. But you know, you are what you live, aren't you? And unfortunately, we pick up certain things along the way. And you know, my little girl did it the other day. A good example of this. She came home from kinder, and she had a terrible headache, and she was quite emotional. And her kinder teacher said, "Oh, she might need to have a lay down, or you might need to give her some Panadol." And straight away, I went to the fridge and I thought, here I am looking outwardly for the answer. You know, here we go drugging our children again, which, yes, it has its place. But this is what I was always taught. So instead of this, I thought, okay, I'm going to ask her the question. And I said to her, would you like to take this pain out of yourself, you know, out of your head yourself? And I said, can you just talk to me about your day? And she just started talking, and I sat her in a hot bath and I said to her, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you, I can hear you, I see you. And basically from the beginning to the end, by the time she told me that she'd had a fall at kinder and she'd hurt herself and whatever else happened, by the time she finished and I was really listening to her, she said to me, Mum, my headache's gone now. I don't need that. And I thought to myself, there it is right there, because, you know, the child in us needs to be seen and heard and understood. And when we're not, exactly what you said, Natalie, we go, well, it's got to be me then, because I must be the one that's got the problem, or I'm the one that's at fault here, or I'm not good enough, don't we?
And we find a way to get the need met too. I'm not saying this is what happened, but
no, yeah,
for example,
yeah,
if she's now got a headache and she can say, now I've got something. See, it's easier to say I've got something that's physically hurting than to say it's something emotionally hurting.
Yes,
so I've got a headache, and then, oh, do you, darling, I'll come here, I'll give you a cuddle. And so then we can get the need met through
by having something, by having a physical element. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's that really great quote by Henry Maudsley from back in the 1800s. He's a psychiatrist this is a quote from 1865, and he says that the sorrow that cannot find vent in tears will make other organs weep. And
absolutely.
It's so amazing. I mean, not that your daughter's headache, she did hit her head, so, you know, it's probably just that, but definitely being able to talk and have that empathy and seen and heard and loved, can do probably everything that some Panadol can do. So how are you now? Because I actually haven't spoken to you since your follow-up quite a few months ago, apart from little check-ins on Messenger here and there. How has your life changed since you finished the Red Tent and you did this healing work and you rescued that little girl inside of you? That, you know, it wasn't a demon, was it? It was a little girl who needed a lot of love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think in full answer, honestly, I'm completely different. I feel like for the first time in my adult life that I can see colour. And when I say colour, I mean in everything. I can see my future. I can see happiness in nature. I can see, I just feel like a different person because I'm not held back by these horrible, horrible feelings and this negative, I guess, pattern that was going on every month, and this cyclic kind of, it was just destroying my life. It was like, you know, and it was this huge cloud that had come over me. And to be honest, now I have to look on a calendar to see where I am in my cycle. My husband and I haven't had a disagreement or an argument since doing this work, and we used to fight terribly. Like the anger that I used to have was horrific, and often he would be the one that would cop it. So, you know, our marriage has got a lot better. I'm sleeping a lot better because I now meditate pretty much nearly every night. I literally, you know, the words "I'm enough" have crept into my life, and that's something that Natalie has taught, you know, throughout the Red Tent and obviously the work she's done. But I honestly believe there's, you know, when people sort of say it's very cliche, you know, you need to be kinder to yourself or show yourself more self-love, but it's a practice. It's definitely something that I've had to try to practice, not even try, but on repetition, I think is the word. And I guess get to the point where it's not what I do, it's who I am. And I feel like I now can honestly say that if I hadn't have done the work with the Red 10, I probably would either be having the surgery or I don't know. Because
Don't
it's,
want to think
yeah,
about
it's very
it.
hard to say. I'm just so forever grateful, and I've said that to you a few times, Natalie. But and now, because of the work I do, like I'm a hairdresser, I've had my own business now for 13 or 14 years, and I listen to a lot of women like Natalie does. And what's interesting to me, when I started to be more vulnerable, because, you know, for 23 years I've fixed everybody's outside, including my own. I thought if I could make the outside of me perfect and fix it all, that then the inside would feel better. And then now I'm actually going down the road of studying RTT myself, because I want to give the gift back. And I don't, it's now that I've gone down this road, I can't not share this. It's something that I really want to pass the baton on, sort of like a running race. But I do, I feel like if I could just even help one person, it's such a gift to be able to give that back, because it's helped me in so many ways. And you know, I can see the benefits not only for PMDD but for everything else in life. So
Forever. It's
yeah,
RTT.
yeah.
What can't it help? It's just the most.
No,
The answers are
it's
inside of
incredible.
us, and we just need to find them and free ourselves
Yeah,
from the prison that
yeah,
we created in an attempt to protect ourselves when we were children. I mean, that's what's going on with pretty much every ailment you can think of. So
and after listening to that many clients over the years, to be perfectly honest with you, every single person on the planet needs to do therapy.
yeah,
And they probably need to do RTT therapy.
yeah,
Because you know, whether you're male, female, whatever you are, like I honestly believe, you know, everybody's got their box of stuff they carry around with them. And, you know, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, but we do hold some really strong beliefs. And yeah, I guess it's, you know, that shining a light onto it every month is exactly what PMDD is, I guess. And you've got some great metaphors for it, I think, Natalie. I really love some of the things, the way you explain it, but it makes total sense, you know. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I feel just the same. You know, having come through it and understanding it as I do now, wouldn't be right to keep it to myself and just leave everyone back there in the burning house. Like, I feel very
No.
compelled to run back into the fire, and I can't get everybody out. Not everyone wants to come out. You know, that's the sad thing.
No.
Not everybody wants to
Yeah.
come out. Like, well, no, this is, they're very, very invested in the label, and there's not much I can do
Mm,
about that. But when a woman comes to me,
mm,
like you did, that point of
yeah.
what is it now? I've got to do something about this. I need to at least master this. Or, you know,
Mm,
when a woman comes to me with that, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
yeah.
I know I'm going to help her find the freedom,
Mm,
because you know I'm there every step of the way, but I can't drag you. Um,
no.
for you
No.
to walk with me, and you did. You were so committed to yourself, and that's why you have completely transformed your life. You've lost how many kilos now? Did you drop off your body?
Oh, I think I'm coming up nearly 15
50.
kilos.
And
Mm.
yeah,
But do you know what's really interesting though, Natalie? For me, I don't weigh myself, and I can honestly say it's more for me emotional weight. It's also putting boundary lines in that I never put in before, because I was the yes person and I was the caring, empathetic, and that was the role I played in my family, the carer. Um, was that I cared too much, but I cared too much about the wrong things, you know, the things that were hurting me, the things that were, you know, and when I say care too much, now I care so much about the right things. And I guess that's the flip of the coin, is kind of understanding that, you know, I'm not stuck there anymore, and I don't need to be, and I'm choosing this, and I'm choosing to be really happy about it. And
yeah,
you know, once you sort of get, like you say, once you get control, and I honestly believe it started on week 1 when we did the armchair exercise that Natalie does in week 1. That's when I suddenly realized, I was like, wow, we have this incredible ability as human beings to look at ourselves in a third person, where we kind of can say, you know, if I went back to that party and I said this or I did that, you know, I think that's such a skill. We all have that skill, and it doesn't matter who you are. you know, you can pull yourself out of anything and analyze yourself. And that part of our brain is the part that can get us through getting better, I believe.
Or
So
it can take you to heaven, or it can take you to hell.
yes,
You know, are
absolutely.
you going to
Yeah.
ruminate? What are you going to use that power for? Are you going to use it to imagine and
Yeah.
create an amazing life, or are you going to use it to take yourself down a dark path? Ruminate and
Yeah.
analyze and pick yourself apart. And, you know, dogs don't do that. They don't have this
No.
ability, but we do. We've got this ability. It's an amazing ability, but it can take you to heaven or hell. But so which path are you going to choose? And it's just realizing, oh my, I have a choice. I did not know that. That's the big realization, I think, that you have in the first week of working with me. But yeah, so that's just so wonderful. I've got so many goosebumps as you're talking this whole way through, by the way. So that makes it's just so fantastic. And
the other thing too, I have to say, that's come out of it, which was lovely, is that the other three girls have all reached out to me. So the ones that we went through with, and we ended the course, and you know, there was a few weeks there where we just check in and go, hey, how you going? How's your week? And what's amazing to me is that the other three women are from completely different backgrounds, different cultures, different countries, yet we all had the same symptoms. And to me, I'm like, this thing doesn't discriminate. It's like COVID, you know. And I was like, you know, what's amazing to me is that we've still kept in contact and made some really lovely friendships. And, you know, they are all unmedicated. None of those women are on what they were on. None of them are having the issues they had. And it wasn't just me. And so then I was sort of, this is the other thing, I was sort of like, wow, if I can see a transformation, not only that big in myself, but the proof's in the pudding. I mean, if I can meet someone on the other side of the world that I've never met before, who's got the same thing going on as me, but yet I can speak to her 6 months from now and she's absolutely fine. I can't, that's the thing where I've gone, you know, for me to talk to these other girls and gone, how are you? And they really mean it when they say, I'm just so different. I'm so different. And I said, so am I. Like, it's that, you know.
And you know, and it's not like I haven't turned you into some feelingless robot. You know, you basically found your real self underneath all those layers of crap that you were able to pull off and throw away. And now the real you, like I say in the recording, the you that you were born to be, the you who knows she's absolutely lovable and worthy and enough, that's who you get to be now. And that's just wonderful. So PMDD, it's crazy to say, but it can be a real gift, because it pushes you to face it. It says, come on, it's trying to get your attention. Won't you please look at this pain? I'm trying to show it to you every month. You keep denying it. Can you please look at it? But of course, I mean, what would you, without, I mean, I didn't know what to do for over a decade myself. I was just, you know, but once you understand what's really going on, and there is this pathway you can take, then it's so worth it. So yeah,
isn't it? And you are right, Natalie, because I do think the sensitive part of us, and the girls that I met, and yourself, Natalie, you know, for women that have it versus don't have it, and you know, even now I still have that sensitive, beautiful part of me that I pick up on every single conversation and every single, you know, mannerism of somebody else. I'm very good at reading people, but at the same token, I haven't lost the sensitivity, which is what I was losing when I was medicated. And all it does is just completely numb you and change, or trying to change, that beautiful part of you that needs to be nourished. So, yeah.
And that's going to make you such an incredible therapist. All your years as a hairdresser, reading people and all of that, and you've still got all that sensitivity intact. And then, but I think that sensitivity is what makes me good at my job. The intuition, the reading, the understanding that I get it, I feel it, all of that. It's the biggest. You can learn all the tools, but if you have that, then you're a born therapist, you're a born healer. And I think women with PMDD, I mean, so many of the women I work with are nurses, artists. They're real creative, empathetic.
They are so creative,
Right, you know, so and that's part and parcel. But so we'll finish up now. But is there, you know, a parting, I don't know, message or anything to say before we end?
probably what would I like to say?
Yeah.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you, honestly, like from the bottom of my heart. I'm probably going to get a little bit emotional now, but yes, without doing this, I probably wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be this well. So I'm forever, forever, ever grateful. The other thing I want to say is to anybody that is sitting on the fence or, is a little bit worried or scared or whatever feelings you have, please, please just reach out to somebody that gets it. And that person is Natalie. And I'm living proof that you can change, and so are the other girls that I've met, and I'm sure there's probably hundreds more that you're going to meet on this journey as well. And even if it's just one other, you will completely and utterly surprise yourself with this. It's like nothing, it's like no other. You can't, it's it really is the best thing I've ever done. And I'm just so grateful that I put my health first. I decided to put myself first for the first time in my life, and it was the best decision I made. So yeah, thank you, Natalie. I really appreciate it.
All those goosebumps again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Eryn. I'm sure that you've touched that this is, this listening is going to be very moved by what you've said. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Natalie.